Hey, what's up guys, and welcome back. Today we are reviewing the second film in the MonsterVerse series, Kong Skull Island. Kong Skull Island premiered in 2017 and was directed by Jordan Vogt-Roberts. It stars John Goodman, Samuel L. Jackson, Tom Hiddleston, Brie Larson, and John C. Reilly. The story takes place in the 1970s in the aftermath of the Vietnam War. When satellites pick up an image of an uncharted island, a group of monarch scientists along with US soldiers, a tracker, and a photographer go on an expedition to Skull Island. Upon arrival, things take a drastic turn for the worse as they now have to survive the island's monstrous inhabitants, such as the skull crawlers and a gigantic ape known as Kong. Right off the bat, I'm going to start off by saying that my views on this film have changed. But have they changed for the better? Well, let's find out. Mild spoilers ahead. Originally, I thought this film was just okay, and I thought Godzilla 2014 was a better movie. But after rewatching it recently, I have to say, while not by much, I find Kong Skull Island to be a somewhat more enjoyable and entertaining film, which kills me to say as a devout fan of Godzilla. Kong Skull Island is definitely an improvement than its predecessor simply for the fact that it delivers what it promises: monster action and fight scenes. The issue with Godzilla was that the film would mostly obscure most of the scenes with Godzilla or cut to a new scene entirely when it started to get good. Kong Skull Island wastes no time on delivering the monster madness as we see Kong tear the military convoy to shreds almost 20 to 30 minutes into the movie. We also see Kong beat the crap out of a giant octopus, which I thought was a pretty cool reference to the 60s film King Kong vs. Godzilla. Also, I think the skull crawlers, as they're called, are more menacing villains than the Mutos, as the skull crawlers actually eat people. I thought the story was okay, and as mentioned earlier, pretty entertaining, but sadly, just like Godzilla 2014, it was a little straightforward as well. It's mainly just another Jurassic Park style movie where people go to an island and get their butts handed to them by giant monsters. While I thought the characters were more entertaining than the ones in Godzilla, they were still very one-dimensional and kinda bland, and still not worth investing in as most of them are not really seen or referenced again. But to its credit, it does take place in the 70s, so at least that's a good excuse. I do know John Goodman's character is at least referenced in one of the other films. I think out of all of them, my favorite character personally is John C. Reilly's character, Hank Marlowe, a World War II pilot who was stranded on Skull Island with a Japanese pilot, Gunpei. Even though he was mostly there for expositional purposes, I thought Marlowe as a character had more depth to him, and Reilly gave a good blend of serious and humor to this role. And honestly, he was the only one that I was rooting for in the end to have a happy ending, which, mild spoiler, I'm glad he did. Samuel L. Jackson plays a military colonel named Packard, who develops a vendetta against Kong, and I thought his performance was pretty good, and his character did have a little intrigue to him, but I didn't really think he was that menacing as an antagonist. I will say, I rolled my eyes so hard when I heard him say, "Hold on to your butts." Don't get me wrong, I love that line, but I really don't want to hear it in anywhere outside of a Jurassic Park film. No complaints on the score of the film. The music was by Henry Jackman, and I thought it was pretty good. The cinematography was okay for the most part. I liked some of the action scenes, and I thought the scene with James Conrad, played by Hiddleston, slicing his way through bird-like monsters with a sword was pretty cool. But I thought some of the scenery effects were a little cheap, and the green screen effects were a little too noticeable. So while it's not a masterpiece, Kong Skull Island is still a fun movie with some entertaining monster fight scenes here and there, and again, less boring and better at raising the stakes than its predecessor Godzilla. But sadly, with its bland story, one-dimensional characters, and occasional cheap cinematography, it doesn't really hold up well. I'm gonna give Kong Skull Island a C+. But that's going to do it for today's review, guys. Thank you so much for checking it out. I hope that you enjoyed it and found it helpful. And if you did, please be sure to hit that like button. And if you've seen this film, be sure to post your thoughts on this film down in the comments below. I'll be sure to check those out. And if you're new to my channel and you're enjoying my content, then please consider hitting that subscribe button. And be sure to stay tuned for my next review coming up for the MonsterVerse series, Godzilla, King of the Monsters. Thank you so much again, guys. I'll see you next time.